In 20XX is a journey into an evolving future. Based on hard science, this series depicts a world of rapidly changing technology. Rate the show so others can find it. Cautionary listening is advised.
Misty sits in her favorite chair with one of her 7 cats sleeping on her lap. Hand-woven blankets bearing red and black patterns cover the chairs and couch. Her Lutin Two waters one of dozens of hanging plants. Glancing and blinking to navigate her AROS, she turns off noise filtering so she can hear the storm. It roars like a furious beast through layers of wreckage, earth, mycrete, and stone. She blinks again, and the sound disappears. She says, "Health Watch." An illustration of herself fades in, floating in the center of her vision. "There you are, you sinful wench!" She smirks and scratches behind her cat's ears. The drawing shows her flattened, like a map. It shows her heart beating and her lungs expanding with each breath she takes. Some areas glow green to reflect her recent progress. She's 6 kilograms lighter than she was last year, and the energy she's gained isn't merely a result of the placebo effect. Sensors in her canal link and VR dots feed the analysis. Casa Lee's team discovered that VR dots have sensors. What the sensors were used for before the storm will probably remain a mystery. Now, they gather lactate readings, glucose levels, blood pressure, vascular stiffness, and many more measurements. Live monitoring is part of the flip medicine has needed to make for centuries, a flip to proactive, preventive healthcare. She blinks at the outline of her stomach, bringing up the nutrient dashboard. A list shows adjustments to her next meal, including a 12% increase in calories, an uptick in B12, and a decrease in protein. Her meal will taste just the way she likes it, even with the changes. She eats what she wants, but the AI plays chemist in the background to make sure the want doesn't ruin the need. Care becomes convenient and continuous, with safer and faster diagnoses and treatments. Her gaze shifts to her kidneys. Last week, a message warned of kidney inflammation. She hadn't felt it, but the dashboard flashed a violet warning. The system restricted her sodium intake and increased the amount of water received with each meal. The violet glow has turned back to a healthy green. America shot itself in the foot when it came to medicine. Their services use the approach of wait until it breaks, and then try desperately to patch it up. That backwards approach made some people rich. The only part of the display she tends to ignore is the cardio ring. It's pulsing a neon blue, which indicates she's been sedentary for too long. The AI can automate everything for her except exercise. It's a hassle, but then she looks at the averted illness chart. Based on her genetic markers and current data, the service estimates she's bypassed 3 chronic conditions in the last 5 years. Those stats always cheer her up. Misty takes a breath, watching the well-being meter grow greener. How much has changed? Preventive care has cut hospital visits by half, and the expense of treating those who get sick has plummeted. At 44, Misty's cheekbones press past the oval shape of her face. She's replaced her signature dark frame glasses with a refurbished pair of cat-eye glasses that don't suit her. She tightens the laces on boots that hug her calves. "Assist, summarize my messages." Her assist's voice sounds like Keanu Reeves. "You have messages regarding desired items in the shop. 7 messages address the poor air quality between the 8 and 9 stations. Many have asked you if you've seen Sunny Postel's videos." Misty holds a hand up. "I've been meaning to do that. Bring up the latest video by Sunny." "She has a new video she posted this morning. I'll play it for you." The cat jumps off Misty's lap. A window appears. In it, a young femme situates herself and looks into the camera. The bridge of her nose wrinkles when she smiles. Every movement of her head touzles her hair. Her voice comes out in a low whisper. "Oh my gosh, hi! Can we just take a second to talk about how amazing it is to be alive right now? Seriously, I wake up every single morning feeling like I just won the lottery, but better because everyone else won it too. Let's talk for real. Did you know that women used to be, like, genuinely scared to walk home at night, or that they'd have to hold their keys between their fingers like claws just to go to their cars. It sounds like a horror movie. How'd they even function? I'd be a nervous wreck. But now? It's the total opposite. With the encrypted system, it's like having a billion guardians watching over us. I can glide to a party at 3 a.m., go somewhere by myself without telling anyone, and wander through any alleyway just because the glow lamps look pretty there. I don't have to fear taking the wrong turn. Sunny looks up and her lips curl into a big smile. The energy at parties is love all around. Since we don't need to look out constantly, we can relax. We can flirt, we can goof around, and we can just be our silliest selves without a single worry. You see it everywhere. Even children run wild streets like it's a giant playground. My biggest stressor is making myself go to my yoga class. Not only do we never worry about having enough food or a place to call home, we get paid to better ourselves. Seriously, can you believe how lucky we are? Self-improvement classes are way more fun than a dead-end job. We get frugal points for only taking the food we'll eat. That's not hard to do. Everyone wasted food. I did it. I used to leave plates piled high with food. It was wasteful. Now that we get credit for not throwing out food, poof! The food waste problem disappears. And you don't even have to figure out how much to order because the AI already knows how much you'll eat. It's more work to waste food than not waste food. If I had to live like people did a decade ago, I'd be so bummed out. Or if I had to live like the spacers do, oh, I couldn't do that. Fun fact, volunteering is how most of us find dates. It's pretty funny to see gym dudes try to be the most altruistic person in the room. I'm just so excited to be part of a generation that treats people as things of value rather than just cogs in a machine. We've got it good. I'm telling you. Her thick eyebrows rise. When the video ends, Misty closes the window. Assist! I want to speak to this young woman. Assist says, I can call her now. Misty sorts through items in her bag. Ring, ring. The femme on the other end speaks slowly. Hello? Misty's hands pause in her bag. Sunny? Hi, this is Misty Josiah. I'm inspired by the videos you make. I'd like to meet you. Sunny's voice lacks articulation. Okay, when? Misty's eyes move left and right. If it works for you, I can come by your place today. It says here that it will take me about 20 minutes. The line remains silent for several seconds. Okay, Misty grins. Okay, see you soon. Misty takes a train. 2 tracks run one above the other, and she takes the upper track. The left side of the car is windowless because it runs flush against a continuous wall. Through the windows on the right side, she can watch balconies blur by. In one section, the train passes a darkened construction site, crawling with robots. The train moves through an open area hosting park and market spaces. Hundreds of bioluminescent spheres hang from above. Inside each one, scenes from the past flicker on cracked screens. They play fragments of memory, short segments of music videos, sunsets, and time-lapse flowers opening. Other people on the train smile at her, but they don't approach. Everyone understands that if they've got something to say to council, they can take it to open floor. Misty studies their faces. How are they feeling deep down? She gets off the train, takes an elevator, and then walks down a twisting hall that slopes down. Large alcoves on either side lead to front doorways. Some alcoves are cluttered, while others host themes such as hand-carved totems. As she reaches Sunny's door, Assist says, I'm ringing her now. A chat opens and Sunny's picture appears. You can let yourself in. She doesn't sound eager. Misty hopes she hasn't come at the wrong time. She opens the door and steps in. The room feels warm. The lights are low. Piles of clothes lie on the floor. A domestic fox, looking all skin and bones, lies sleeping. Misty hesitates to proceed. Hello? A weak voice calls out. I'm back here, in the bedroom. Misty avoids items on the carpet as she walks through the room. Do you live alone? In the bedroom, she finds a femme lying on the bed. The only light comes from a nightlight. As she walks closer, she tries to see the sunny form the video in the femme on the bed. Is that you? The femme with sunken eyes turns her head toward Misty. With a dry voice, she says, Yes. Misty's arms and shoulders lower. But I watched the video you made this morning. She swallows hard and hopes she's not saying the wrong thing. Sunny hardly moves other than speaking. When you called, I thought you knew. Knew what? I have terminal cancer. I'm taking chemo right now. Misty rears her head back. But we have the latest in medicine. Don't they have viral agents that eliminate cancers? I didn't know that chemo was still being used. Sunny blinks slowly. I was told that viral vectors and programmable cells, that we can't do those anymore. Misty clasps her hands. I'm shocked. How do you make those videos each day? A soft laugh comes from Sunny's nose. That's my personality clone. I stopped updating my personality clone. I left it the way it was before my cancer diagnoses. I let it act on its own and find out the latest news and make videos. It cheers me up. She's my true self. I wish I could be like her again. Misty steps forward. I'm going to do everything I can to help. She takes Sunny's hand. Several people sit around the round table in the Sunrise meeting hall. The ceiling screen shows a dusk sky with deep purple hues and stars. Banners of different tribes hang on the circular wall. The people who made the banners took extra time to make each stitch count. In his 80s, Martel has lost weight. Long lines flow down his face. His eyes stay bright with an amused stubbornness. He places a cloudy crystal onto the worn composite table. It looks like a chunk of salt lick, but he handles with care. And why do we need this stuff? Ed frowns. It's called fluorite. The fact that we don't have enough of it is the reason our grandkids will be living in the 1970s. Strands of Ed's hair float around his head in long arcs. His shoulders and upper arms stretch his shirt. He says, with no supply chains, all the minerals we need are running out. Our local survey found 0 usable deposits of fluorine or the other rare earth minerals. We have no hope of mining for what we need. 60-year-old Jade raises a hand without looking up. So we find a workaround. We've got engineers. We've got scrap. Ed shakes his head. You can't engineer your way out of basic chemistry. Without fluorine, we lose the gases needed for plasma etching. That means no more advanced microchips once our current stockpile dies. Our electronics are going to regress to bulky, inefficient designs from 80 years ago. Martel shifts in his seat. What about the power grid? I thought we had a reliable power source. Jade places a pen microscope in a pocket on her utility vest. We're running out of neodymium and dysprosium for high-efficiency magnets. When the turbines and motors wear out, we can't replace them with anything of the same efficiency. The new ones will be 3 times the weight and half as powerful. That isn't the only thing we need to worry about. Our automation is going to fail, so we'll be back to manual labor. Martel rubs his neck. This is a lot to take in at once. What fails first? Medical and sensors, Jade says. Precision optics use lanthanum. High-performance seals in our life support need PTFE. Both require the stuff we don't have. We've already lost bioengineering treatments. In 10 years, our batteries start failing because we can't produce the electrolytes. We aren't going to starve tomorrow, but the ceiling is dropping. We're becoming a low-tech society, whether we like it or not. How many know about this? Martel asks. Ed's eyes dart around the room. Some have their suspicions, but the general population has no clue. Jade blinks several times. We see it happening in 3 waves. First wave, repairs fail. Second wave, replacements fail. Third wave, redesigns cripple our ability to make the most basic stuff. We won't be able to make a calculator. Martel grips the table edge. We depend on a robot labor force to uphold our liberal utopia. If our robots fail, we won't be able to uphold the commons mindset. We'll need to employ human laborers, and that will reintroduce capitalism, which will erode our values. Everyone's faces grow grimmer and grimmer. Martel places a hand on his chest. We'll be a society experiencing yearly decline. These days will be seen as the golden period. 10 years from now, when we need laborers, we won't have the cultural DNA for workers. People will resent being required to work instead of demanding the right to work. Ed and Jade both shake their heads in agreement. The following is a list of the most requested items people can't buy new. Foldables, AR glasses, canal links, VR shades, wall screens, streamer cams, whisper drones, projectors, drills, laser shavers, e-fabrics, inverse greenhouse clothes, refrigerators, humidifiers, Brit lights, protein memory, micro devices, smell sensors, bloodline power generators, taseware, Invisivales, robot pets, autonobikes, laser toys, MRI caps, plasma welders, gut bots, milk cloners, second faces, Insta-water purifiers, CPAP machines, nebulizers, game controllers, electric instruments, robotic toys, rechargeable batteries, VR rigs, 3D printers, and smart pens. Ed taps a ring against the table. His eyes are fixed on an AR holomap of the recycle systems. His face rests at ease, but he grips his stylus. We're at 94% efficiency. Every scrap of insulation, every fried circuit board, and even the mineral content in our wastewater gets processed. We've turned our product line into a circle. Jade snorts. She must stretch her back in order to lean her elbows on the tabletop. With her thumbnail, she removes grease from under a fingernail. She wears a flight suit, each of its pockets filled with tools. Ed, every time you refine these elements, you lose a little. We're losing trace amounts of rare earth minerals every time we refine. It's a leak. A small one, but in 5 years, that leak empties the bucket. She drags her chair back with a shriek, making a younger femme in the back row jump. The robots are failing. The magnets in the turbines are degaussing. Martel rolls the triangle in a circle pendant along the chain around his neck. He says, "The Giantess Production Center is 10 kilometers east. It should have enough material to last us decades." Ed holds out a hand. "Gusts strong enough to displace all the Earth's surface. We can't go out there." A voice from the side benches says, "We can dig." Ed shakes his head. "Plasma boring eats through power and resources. The equipment wears out, and we don't have replacements. By the halfway point, we'd be digging with hand shovels. We'd be lucky if we reach it in 50 years. Enthusiasm leaves the room. Heads droop. Nobody speaks. An impact on the surface causes a shudder to pass through the room like the tail end of an earthquake. A young man sitting on a side bench raises a hand. "What about the northern line?" Jade raises a hand like she might shush him. "The tube from Seattle to New York is flooded. Our scouts sent out a submersible drone. It traveled 40 kilometers underwater before the radio signal grew hazy, and they had to call it back. There are landfills," says a femme who graduated last year. "The old world buried millions of tons of electronics. If we can locate a high-density site nearby, we could extract the minerals using biosmelting." Jade lets out a sharp, jagged laugh. "We fought the Tuckers to keep their garbage off our lands. The nearest site is 60 kilometers out through some of the hardest rock on the continent." As if joining the conversation, the ceiling display flickers, creating a momentary strobe effect. Ed goes back to tapping his ring. None of them look at each other. They just stare at the holomap as it rotates over the table. A femme on a bench stands. "I need to step out." A centenarian, Icho, wearing a red bowler hat, says, "We have all those second-hand AI servers. It's my understanding that some of those computers solved the biggest problems of their day." Jade frowns and shakes her head. "We can't just throw AI at a problem." Ijo wields a finger. "Can't you, though? The Butler AI seems to have fixed all of the Spacers' problems." Jade opens her mouth, about to speak. Martel says, "Population is growing, an average of 3 children per family. That's a good thing. But the future that our children will look forward to will be a throwback. In medicine, they will be around when the computers break. I believe they can survive." Groans and murmurs grow louder. Misty, who's been typing on an unpowered keyboard, waves a hand. "I have an idea." The room grows quiet and eyes lock in on her. Jenna, bangs extending far past her face, says, "This is more of an engineering problem than a social engineering problem. Am I right?" She smiles at Ed. Misty raises one eyebrow. "Tell me, Jenna. What is the most advanced computer in existence? One that uses far less power and weighs far less than our best silicon scaffold protein servers?" Jenna blinks and gives her head a shake. "I don't know where you're going with this. Our high-density processors are—" "The Hume brain," Ed interrupts, his voice dry. "You're talking about the brain." "Exactly," Misty says. "And does the Hume brain need supply chains from across the ocean? Do we need deep crust mining of rare earth minerals to produce one? No. Nature uses dirt, water, and air to build structures we are still decades away from reverse engineering." Jenna opens her mouth, but no words come out. Martel places his hands together. "Are you suggesting we copy nature, Misty?" That we abandon our machines to grow everything out of biology? We don't have the time to wait for a forest to grow us a circuit breaker. No, Misty says firmly. I'm not discussing that at all. I'm talking about what we do have. We have world-class supercomputers, more of them than we know what to do with. We have a young, educated population that grows larger with every graduating class. And because we have automated production, these people don't have to go to work. We are rich in idle time. She pulls her hair back behind her ears. Material science surged in the years before the storm. We have simulations of millions of molecular structures promising amazing properties, most of which haven't been tested. They bothered with only the extreme ones, the ones used to make spaceship shielding and deep-sea hulls. Misty, listen to yourself, Jade groans, throwing her hands up. There's a good reason most of those materials aren't made. Even if the math says a new alloy works, we don't have the equipment it would take to produce esoteric materials at scale. It took a century for C-plasts to replace metals. Misty says, our simulators can act as our laboratories. Our growing number of young minds can navigate the projects. We discover ways to make our new line of materials. Ed waves his hands. Misty, we all love you, but it's a pipe dream. You're talking about reinventing the entire industrial base out of mud and math. I'm afraid it's a waste of time. Misty's smile holds firm, yet she presses her palms down on the table. It seems impossible because you're used to looking at the world through the outdated lens. Better rocket shields were made because people needed rockets. We don't need to build rockets today. We need robots of tomorrow, computers of tomorrow, and medical devices of tomorrow, built from materials we can reach. C-plasts took a long time to replace metals because metals served most purposes well enough. We don't need an extreme production chain to reach a point where a machine can make everything from local materials. If we put enough minds and enough computing power to the task, we can solve the riddles of turning what we have into what we need. People look down and shake their heads. Jana smiles smugly. Jade covers her eyes with one hand, holding out the other. Wait. I see what she's talking about. I think it makes sense. People look up. Flickers of hope come to weary eyes. Like she said, we find ways to make the things we need with what we have. Simulators sped up material science discoveries. Now the same computers can speed up production science. Martel holds out a hand. It doesn't mean we stop trying to find the landfills or the production center. Crosstalk breaks up the focus of the meeting. Some work out ideas together, while others argue. People stand and walk to where Misty sits. The doped composite quasi-superconductive maglev train hums beneath their feet. Outside the window, tube houses flash by, making streaks of colored lights. When Misty Josiah walks down the aisle, other passengers pretend not to see, but they smile and nod to each other after she passes. Elena reaches out and takes her daughter's hand. Maya's fingers are cold, but she isn't shaking. She's quiet, watching her own reflection in the glass. How are you feeling, sweetie? Elena asks. Still feeling solid about today? Maya turns, offering a shy smile. Yeah, I don't know. It's a big day, right? It is a big day, Elena agrees, patting Maya's hand. It's the day you get your freedom. I remember when my mom took me. I felt like I could finally breathe. No more what-ifs hanging over my head every time I met someone I liked. I was older than you. Those were different times. Maya leans her head on her mother's shoulder. Was it really that different? In the old times? You mentioned it, that people just lived with the risk? Elena sighs, a wistful but grounded sound. It's hard to imagine now, isn't it? Back then, the biology was always on. You had to be careful, and even then, things happened. Usually it was the femmes who had to carry the weight of that worry every time they left the house. That sounds exhausting, Maya whispers, watching the heads of the passengers in front of them. It was. And messy. People ended up with lives they weren't ready for. Families would fracture before they even started because one person stayed and the other, usually the father, just vanished. There was so much struggle, so much abandonment, all because accidents easily happened. Elena puts her arm around Maya. Now, we have the power of intent. You'll never have to wonder if a partner is truly committed to a future with you. If you both decide to use the Nexus, you'll know. It's the ultimate yes. Maya looks down at her lap. And with you and Dad, it was like that 3 times? 3 times, Elena says, her voice warming. Each time we sat down and looked at each other. We talked about our lives, our space, and how much love we had left to give. And when we were sure, we went to the cabinet, took out the Nexus pens, and made that choice together. You, Leo, and Sarah weren't surprises, Maya. You were invited. You were called into being. The train slows as it approaches the med station. The melodic chime announces their stop. Maya fidgets. Elena says, "The procedure is quick." Maya touches her ear. "Not as painful as getting my ears pierced." Elena stands. "That's right, a little pinch, and then we'll go get those honey cakes you like from the plaza. You won't have to carry a worry so many femmes before us had to carry. You'll be a better mother if you choose to be a mother." Maya takes a deep breath as she stands. "I'm ready." "That's my girl," Elena beams. They hold hands as they step off the train. Misty looks out over a sea of faces. Red Earth Wrestling Arena can hold up to 300 people. The rebuilt ceiling has dampens much of the storm noise. Lights interwoven into the drip net pulse in patterns imitating the spread of galaxies. Air rotation vents hang like upside-down organ pipes. The north side rock face walls show crystal veins slicing through stone. It's a tight squeeze. Recent graduates stand in the aisles and press against the entry doors. Nervous energy charges the air. Bots moved the guard ropes from the stage Misty stands on. Her two colleagues sit behind her at a table. She brushes her hair back. "I'm glad you all made it." Her voice clearly reaches everyone's ears. "We're here to build the Fab-All. Every one of you will run machine evolver simulations, either in teams or singly." Several people let out shouts. Laughter builds and ebbs. People look at each other and nod. Misty holds up both hands. "The goal is simple to state, but hard to do. Your job is to evolve a machine that takes in garbage and turns out anything and everything we need." A girl shouts from the front row, "Why one machine?" Misty smiles mischievously. A car is thought of as one machine, even though it's actually a group of machines, but that group of machines achieves much more together than they could alone. We need a system of systems optimized to work together and achieve together what one system could not achieve alone. Besides, we couldn't call it the Fab-All if it didn't fab all. Laughter and clapping burst from the stands. A young man jumps to his feet. His voice cracks. "Anything? Even complex electronics?" "Everything," Misty says. "Sensors, computers, micro-machines, everyday tools. We need low energy requirements, no extreme temperatures, no waste byproducts we can't get rid of. The machine has to be clean." The crowd grows quiet. Some scribble on digital pads. Others stare, captivated by the scale of the ask. Misty walks a circle around the stage. "We have millions of material compositions and profiles on file. Each of you will have enough computing power to run hundreds of simulations at once. We want a suite of new materials that can be made from daily garbage but remain non-toxic and strong. Our Fab-All should be able to make mining equipment, even fusion reactor components, but it should also be able to make soap and spoons." Ed, who was sitting at the table, stands up. "Think of it like a medicine printer. Those are essentially molecule printers, but they require hundreds of pure feed sources. We want that level of control to make computers, but we also want the speed of a clothing printer for things like shoes. We don't want to build a boot, molecule by molecule." "And no biology," Misty adds, her tone sharp. "We aren't using engineered fungi or bacteria. If a disease hits a living machine, our production line dies. This must be 100% non-living." She pauses, watching a group of grads, their faces bright with determination, in the corner. They're already arguing over simulation parameters. She touches her ear. "We even need new canal links. Implants must be safe." Next to Ed, Jenna stands. "We'll organize into groups now. Check your inboxes for starter instructions. You'll set up shop and start your runs. We're going to let these designs compete. Every day, the machines that perform best in the simulations will be showcased. Winners will spawn the next generation of designs." The room floods with a low roar of conversation. The competitive spirit heats the air. These people have idle time and ambition. Many want to make a name for themselves. They want their designs to be the ones surviving the cull. "Embrace the strange," Misty tells them over the noise. "Your simulations will lead to molecular combinations that look alien. They'll try out chemistry we haven't dreamed of. A few older students look worried, whispering about the risks of letting machines design themselves. Most look like they want to sprint to the nearest terminal. They're ready to prove they're the ones who can turn the colony's waste into its future. Think of compost as nature's garbage: dead leaves, broken branches, and half-eaten bug corpses. Unlike garbage, compost doesn't mark the end of a cycle, but the beginning. Compost feeds the growth of new cellular life. In much the same way, garbage feeds the Fab-All. Feed it broken glass, torn shirts, cracked circuit boards, coffee grounds, cardboard, C-plast foil, and dead batteries. The Fab-All only requires garbage, water, and a modest amount of power. In return, it makes medicines, engines, mattresses, computers, shovels, surgical tools, thermomechanical clothing, and cold light. It'll make anything and everything you need. Organic foods are not included, as they are made in G-Shroon brews or grown in aeroponic houses. The Fab-All can print flea-sized robots as well as support beams for a new house. All the garbage entering the Fab-All, including cans, bent bicycle spokes, and wrappers, is reduced inside an ionic bath that strips materials down into elemental soups. No heat smelting needed. The bath uses staged electrochemical gradients and chelating agents to dissolve items and liberate trace elements. Temperatures never exceed 54 degrees Celsius. Specially designed molecules added to the mix cause like elements to link together. Some sink to the bottom, and some rise to the top. Tubes equipped with spectroscopic sensors suck out certain concentrations. These fluids and gels have names like gold gel and silica goo. They are stored for use in the printing process. In the print chambers, robotic arms can approach a print job from all angles. Each arm has an assortment of printer heads and feed lines that can be attached to its end. Depending on the requirements of the product, the print arms build a scaffold first. The arms work in a swarm, laying down the scaffold from all sides. There is no base plate, no gravity-constrained axis, no dripping. Nanowires hold the scaffold suspended. A scaffold is much more than a support, and it won't be removed later. It lays the groundwork for complex reactions to follow. The way the scaffold is built organizes how chemical reactions will unfold in three-dimensional space. Like a row of dominoes before a chain reaction begins, nanopoints of enzymes, catalysts, and static electron pockets embedded in the milky structure wait for the next phase. In the reaction printing phase, molecular recipes are applied to the surface or injected. These are not naturally occurring molecules, but they are made from the most common elements on the surface of the Earth. When added, they kick off chain reactions that spread through the scaffold like roots. To the naked eye, the milky scaffold changes color several times. Polarized semifluids enter the scaffold as magnetic fields sweep through the chamber. The molecules in the semifluids migrate, orient, and crystallize. The scaffold feeds the crystallization and, in so doing, directs how the crystals will grow. Most of these crystals are soft and/or flexible. Few resemble the crystal stones people associate with the word crystal. The most complex chemical reaction in the known universe ensues. The formation of nanolattices spreads like wildfire. Newly formed proteins interact with one another. They twist and fold in a pre-programmed dance. Molecules push away from each other, change shape, and then bond together. The catalytic sites in the scaffold trigger self-propagating geometries. In one region, hexagonal carbon lattices lock together into a material harder than steel. In another, flexible polymer chains weave themselves into something that feels like memory foam. In a third, semiconductor arrays self-assemble in fractal patterns into analog logic pathways. Crystal fibers emerge and weave together. The tribespeople call this process nano-weave composite tech. They say this phase gives off the odor of rain. The reactions reach completion, and some parts of the scaffold fall away. Sometimes a surface conditioning pass deposits finishing layers, skins with nanoscale surface patterning that can give a product any optical property from mirror bright to light-absorbing matte. Other parts of the Fab-All specialize in types of products. Thread printers generate stock for fabrics. Sheets of glass and boards can be printed on a large flat bed. Assembly chambers put together print jobs. A blanket emerges soft as fleece. A drill bit emerges with a surface harder than carbide. A lens emerges with refractive properties tuned to a specific wavelength. They came from the same chamber. They came from the same garbage. Challengers and skeptics can't find a product the Fab-All can't make. On the soft end, there are pillows filled with smart particles, compression bandages woven with pressure-sensitive conductive threads that signal improper tension, and silicone prosthetic liners with graded stiffness zones that mimic biological tissue. In the mid-range of hardness, tablets with optical fiber surfaces, circuit boards that fold into wearable health monitors, and hiking boot soles with anisotropic stiffness. On the hard end, C-Plast bicycle frames, lattice bone implants, ceramic matrix heat shields, and the nozzle throat of a small rocket thruster rated to 3000 Kelvin. The Fab-All makes electric motors whose windings are woven with faux superconductor nanotube yarns. It doesn't make food, but if someone really wanted it to make a hamburger patty, it could theoretically make something resembling one. The first Fab-All stands 5 stories tall and is made from salvaged parts. To establish a place to build it, United Tribes guts a former recreation center. They cut square holes into 4 floors. When the machine fills that space, no one can see all of it at once. They need to go floor to floor to see all of it. On opening day, hundreds crowd the docking bay entrance, and their voices blend into an anxious hum. A line forms from the entrance, down a rail delivery hall, and out into the tube line. People step over random items from before the storm. The air is hotter in the hall, and those wearing inverse greenhouse clothes are glad they chose to do so. People shuffle in as the walking tour begins, starting on the lowest floor. A brutalist mess of recycled tanks and patched pipes serves as the intake station, breaking down unsorted garbage. A team of robots drops garbage into 3 square funnels. Spinning doors in the funnels allow items in. The roar of shredders overpowers noise cancellation and earplugs. Pumps whir and hiss as they inject the tanks with specialized enzymes. These chemical catalysts are birthed from the very waste the machine processed hours prior. A group of children holds their noses, and a robot scoops dirty diapers into the machine. A youth points and shouts, "Wait, I can fix that," as a Segway is tossed in. The heat intensifies for the people climbing the first flight of stairs. People wave hands in front of faces. They walk around a wall of cylindrical tanks and tubes. Servos jump, pumps spin, and hydraulics extend and retract. Clear canisters show the different color element gels inside. Plungers push those semi-liquids down tubes. The noise changes as the tour reaches the 3rd and 4th levels. The shredding of the first floor fades into a melodic buzz. Thousands of molecule printers arranged in parallel shift behind transparent doors. They resemble looms. Every printer is a thicket of hardware. Injector needles, reaction chambers, microvalves, and clusters of capillary tubes carrying feedstock in streams of different colors. One femme says, "I've needed a hairdryer for 3 years." The boy behind her says, "You may have to wait 3 more years." She turns. "What do you mean?" "This Fab-All will take several months to print the parts for a second Fab-All. Then there's a long list of emergency and priority products it needs to make before it prints anything like a hairdryer." She shrugs and moves forward. A man next to her taps the frame of his cracked spectacles. "I've gone through 5 pairs of AR glasses. All used, all scavenged, all broken. I just want something I can rely on." The crowd gathers on the 5th floor where printed items can be claimed. Misty stands on a walker flat whose bed has been lowered to the ground. Kyle, the young engineer whose simulation beat out millions of others, stands next to her. Kyle is slight, with nervous hands and eyes that haven't seen a full night's sleep in months. He looks more like a startled bird than a savior, but the crowd watches him with reverence. He keeps shifting his weight, overwhelmed by the stares. Misty checks the time on her interactive sleeve. A countdown starts, and more join in with each number. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. As the crowd presses in, some jump and some clap. The machine lets out a pressurized whoosh like a whale blowing spray. Thick doors open, and a robot arm swings out. It places a small object onto a table covered with a 300-year-old ceremonial blanket. Misty turns to Kyle and motions for him to step forward. Kyle shakes his head, his face flushing. For a moment, she watches him as his eyes turn dull. She steps forward, takes the new object, and holds it up. Screens held by robots show a close-up. This is a bust of Carl Heavyhead, the man who sacrificed his life to bring food to people in 2044. Without him, we would not be here today. People clap. Some older people wipe their eyes. We live in a world of endless abundance never accessed before today. Every single person who competed to make the best Fab-All has given us the key to endless abundance. Without you, we would not be here today. Kyle jumps as shouts and cheers break out. He looks up at Misty. Can I go now? Misty smiles and nods. The party room swells with people. Bodies press shoulder to shoulder on the dance floor. Fans blast cool air, but hot air can be felt by people who raise their hands above their heads. Perfume, sweat, and citrus flavor the air. Flashing lights turn movement into fragments. Canal links work double time, pulling from the noise and commotion the sounds each listener is most likely to benefit from hearing. Funzoid screens line the walls, pulsing with abstract patterns, moving in ways that feel like tickles. Groups of people catch sight of the shifting shapes and break into fits of helpless giggling. Misty sits at a table with Kelvin, a man she's dated off and on for over a year. They lean over a tablet. Kelvin points. Look at this. Someone just uploaded a design for a set of carving chisels. Misty says, what are they going to carve? I don't know. I'm guessing someone might find a stick of wood in the North Line if they search long enough. Misty smirks and leans in, watching the feed while new items appear every few seconds. There are soft-soled shoes, books with e-ink pages, even lace lingerie. She grins and shakes her head. This is going to keep the colony's energy up for a long time. Kelvin crooks his lips and eyebrows. It's a lifesaver. At least for a year. Maybe longer, before we all get used to it and start complaining again. A drum circle starts playing. The beat affects everyone's movements. A line of dancers wearing regalia makes its way around the edge of the dance floor. People drift from table to table, toasting and laughing at the screens. Misty's glasses buzz, and she blinks twice. A message says, Sunny has posted her latest video. Misty elbows Kelvin. Hey, you want to see something fun? Sure, he says. She air swipes down and to the right to put the post on the tablet. Sunny's video opens. Sunny's face is bright and lively, and her thick hair tied back in a messy knot keeps slipping. Her skin has that deep, warm glow. You guys aren't going to believe this, Sunny says, her voice peaking with excitement. I just got back from the wind arena. Have you heard about this? It's amazing. Misty glances at Kelvin to see his smile. This is the girl I told you about. Sunny throws her hands up. It's a giant room where they let the storm winds in. One wall is clear as glass. It's like a wind tunnel and a rodeo bull in one. People put on pads and football helmets and just go for it. They hold on to ropes and try to ride the air. The goal is to stay away from the vents. If you get pinned, a robot arm grabs you and you're out. Everything is padded so no one gets hurt. I hope no one gets hurt. Sunny lets out a laugh. I saw 10 people start and they were flying. Actually flying. The winds are hurricane strength, guys. I couldn't sit still. I usually like wrestling or soccer, but this is different. They're discovering how to move, shoving each other mid-air, trying to outlast the chaos. I was rooting for this guy named Bibby. He rode that wind like a pro. A bull rider would be intimidated, I swear. They're untethered from gravity. It's my new favorite thing. I'm going to go every chance I get. So get to the wind arena and check it out. Sunny turns her head down, then raises it. I have some sad news. Sunny, the person whose life data created me, passed away a moment ago. Don't be sad. She would have wanted you to be happy. Just remember her as a kind and generous person. I know I always will. If you want to remember her, watch me. We are, in spirit, one and the same. As Sunny, the personality clone, continues talking, Misty's jaw drops. An all too familiar sorrow rises inside her. Kelvin pats her arm. Misty sits in the middle of the party, the most successful day in their society's history. The laughter surrounding her turns into noise. Sunny was so young, a star that would have kept on rising. Another casualty. The storm still takes lives. It feels unreal. Misty pushes the feeling back, wanting this evening to go well. Taking Kelvin's arm, she nuzzles up to him.